Sorry, Melissa, I thought I CC'd you in the original email last week.
No, that's okay. We've been having issues with getting emails too, like from people too. But I even asked, had included Vicki in it, so she said she wasn't going to be there when I first called for the meeting, just in case her plans have changed, but she won't be here next time.
So we had your variance? Okay. Yep. Hey, she's happy with it. Yeah, her panic moment was some type of funny.
I would have always not been able to plan to do it in
His name is on his cabinet. He wasn't a commissioner for a long time.
Probably been in there for no dust.
I know it. It has.
A little bit of history there, probably.
I love to play the band, I did not like
I saw him at physical therapy the other day. But Jimmy has, let's see, he has tropical mix. He has the mint and candy wrappers.
Yeah.
Hey, Al. None of Jimmy's pens work in here. Just that pencil will. There, that one works. So are the folks from Ocala going to be here?
No, they won't be able to make it tonight. But I don't know if you need them.
Huh? I watched the presentation to the city commission on TV. When they
So
did
their
that.
request,
Well, we'll start our meeting here.
60 seconds?
Yeah.
We need three for quorum?
What?
How many do we need? Four?
We do need somebody else.
They said he was supposed to be coming.
Jose said he would
It's
be here.
usually 5
Who?
minutes late.
Guy's not going to be here.
And
Vicki?
Vicki told us weeks ago that she was not going to be able to make today.
She reconfirmed yesterday.
And yeah, because we double checked with her. And then Mr. Guy we talked to, and he is sick. He sounded, what did you say?
He said he's in a bad way, so he's in.
So
Yeah, I'm afraid his health is.
you're Mark. So Jose, is he going to be here?
We're anticipating that he will be
He's
here, yes,
usually
ma'am.
late, so we'll keep our
Okay.
fingers crossed.
He runs from work.
Yeah, that's true. He's
How
the youngest
come?
one on the bunch, I think, so he's probably working.
Don't leave us.
Oh, we'll get him back.
I'll be back. I'm not leaving you, I promise. Santa.
Who was he?
City
He's the
manager.
city manager.
Oh, okay.
Al Minner.
One of those matter of fact faces.
He's everyone's boss.
Yeah,
Wow.
basically.
Still has the occasion.
Huh?
Basically, yeah.
He's been the city manager a good while now.
I think 10
I
years.
retared from being a commissioner in 2012,
Yeah, maybe.
and I think he came pretty soon after that.
Which is unusual
Yeah.
Huh?
for someone to be.
That long? Really?
How long?
Wow.
Usually city managers are like,
3 to 5.
yeah, I was going to say 3 to 5 years.
Will he just burn out, or?
Politics change.
Yeah, gotcha.
You've been with the city now 11 years? Is it this part?
I'm in 11, I just finished 10.
The said I quit being a commissioner in 2012, so I think you came soon after that.
A little more than that, almost two. 'Cause
Well, you
would've-
weren't city
but
manager
you
when I
end-
was, huh?
So you would have ended in 13.
January, I guess,
Yeah, so I
maybe.
missed you by a year.
Yeah.
Can you have an alternate to have one more person, like as a commissioner, in case somebody doesn't show up?
We about
We
passed
do,
out.
we have places for alternates, but we don't have anybody that's volunteered.
But we haven't filled those either.
Okay, so how easy would it be to fill it?
They
It's hard.
applied, right?
Okay.
You know,
I doubt if anybody has,
We're
has
gonna-
anybody applied?
No, ma'am, we're gonna be asking for, pretty soon to get, we have 2 open for alternates. And
Okay.
when you three,
There are 3 more that
Mark,
should be
Jose,
here.
and Nicole applied, that was the 3 applications that we received.
Vendor alternate?
No, she's a member, but she's about to get canned because she hasn't shown up.
Oh, usually there's another vendor.
Oh, you know,
Yeah, that's what it is.
Melissa, for the information.
Yep.
I'm gonna have to give her the goodbye
So
letter.
we had a 7-member board, this is a 7-member board, right? And we had it filled up.
5.
We made it up to 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, we made it up to 7, excuse me. And Ciara has never shown up, so on our list here,
So who else?
Miss Santa, Guy who's sick, Vicky who's out, Jose who will be here shortly, I'm sure, Nicole, Mark.
But you guys have talked to
Sierra.
him?
Yeah,
Yes.
he's been to the last 2 meetings.
Yeah, he's good. He's here. He usually takes a minute or 2 to get here, so. And then
Does the door need to be open downstairs?
It was open when I came in.
yeah, we need to double check that they
They usually leave it open
leave it
for us.
open.
'Cause they have
I
our
don't know,
schedule.
did they have our schedule for today?
And Vicky's usually here.
We were, yeah.
You all are fairly
I don't
new,
know.
hardly even know.
I always try to tell Lisa, and I forgot to say anything on the way up.
That's
There we go.
And you live,
I'm over over next to the airport in the Summit, in that neighborhood up on
Oh,
top.
okay.
I can't remember the name. Remember that? Association.
well, Mark, I'll remember that.
Yeah, that's an easy one up.
Where do you live? I forget.
Lake Denham Estates.
Oh, okay. Somebody was talking about how difficult it is to come out and try to turn left.
You can't.
Well, you're not supposed to turn left out of Lake Denham Estates. You're supposed to turn right. There is no left option.
You gotta go down
There
and
he
then.
There he is.
We set it up to have a left turn with 2 lanes coming out, and DOT came in and said, no, you
Yeah.
can't do
Well,
that.
DOT's not doing anything to 27. We don't have, where's your clout there, city manager?
Which one was?
The DOT.
27.
27.
The governor doesn't even have any control over FDOT.
True that.
We're glad you're here. Now we have a quorum.
Yep.
So we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. The first order of business is the minutes of the January 31st meeting. Have you all looked over those?
I make a motion to approve the meetings.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
I say.
Okay. Any discussion, additions, corrections? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, Lee School. Who's gonna start us off, Dan?
I'd like to start off, Madam Chair. I want to welcome everyone to the February 28th City of Leesburg Historic Preservation Board meeting. Today, I'm Dan Miller, Director for the City Planning Department. Senior Planner Christine Rock to my left, Planner Melissa Metters controlling the computer. Deputy Director Candy Harper is in the back. And City Manager Al Minner is here as well in the front. And Mr. Mike Rankin from Land Planning Group of Mount Dora is also here on behalf of the applicant for today, which is Prospero Living, owned by Mr. Barry Mansfield.
Come up front, Mike.
Oh, I look so much better back
Come on up front.
Today, the board is being asked to vote on a request by Prospero Living LLC to demolish the existing Lee School buildings for the purpose of future development on this plus or minus 5 acre site. The recent history of this site was that it was zoned public until 2016, when it was rezoned to small plan unit development under ordinance 1601 to allow for assisted living and memory care on the site. In 2021, it was rezoned by the new owner to allow for 49 attached townhomes and 14 apartments, which would go into the south building, which is the big building, the older of the two buildings. This zoning did go through, the information about this did go through the Historic Preservation Board, and the board did allow the north building to be demolished. In 2023, there was a request to change the zoning to allow purely townhomes, but the City Commission looked at it and said we want a different site plan, and the new site plan was not forthcoming, so that ordinance died. So what I'm getting to here is that the 2021 zoning on the property is still in effect, which allowed for the 49 townhomes and 14 apartments. I would like to, you want me to read the recommendation, Mr. City Manager, or should I allow you to speak? Or I think I should go ahead with the recommendation, if that's all right. So, the owner, Prospera Senior Living LLC. The petitioner is Barry Mansfield. The request is the demolition of the Lee School buildings. The case is HP 24-65. And I'm looking at in your packet under the City of Leesburg Historic Preservation Board recommendations, which is under new business number 1. Lee School buildings were constructed in the early years of the 20th century, the South Building in 1915 and the North Building in 1923. These buildings consist of a total of 23,000 square feet on 4.87 plus or minus acre lot. Over the decades and up to the early 2000s, the building served as educational facilities for the city. The last use of the buildings was the Lee Adult Learning Center, and in 2015, the Lake County School Board sold the property to an Orlando investor. 3 years later, in 2018, the property was purchased by Prospera Senior Living LLC, which is Mr. Mansfield's company. The issue here is that since the abandonment of the school use, the buildings have sat unused and in deteriorating condition. Windows are repeatedly broken, entry doors and security fences are frequently compromised. The interior of both structures are often vandalized. And while I'm going through this, Melissa, could you go to the photos just so that we can show everyone? In addition to that vandalization of the interior and the doors and security fences, there are issues with homelessness, loitering, and illegal drug transactions are ongoing on the site. And this continues to cause a disruption in the neighborhood and creates a negative impact on the community. At the February 12, 2024 meeting of the Leesburg City Commission, there was consensus that the building should be demolished to eliminate this ongoing blight, which does have negative impacts to the area, and create an opportunity for new development that will support the neighborhood and downtown Leesburg. So with that, the Planning and Zoning Division is therefore recommending, based on the City Commission consensus and the above referenced factors, that the Lee School buildings be demolished to allow for future development of the site. So, Madam Chair, the action requested today is to vote to approve the recommendation to demolish the Lee School buildings, to eliminate an ongoing blight and create the opportunity for new development that supports the economic growth of downtown Leesburg. In your packet, there is the recommendation from staff, the Historic Preservation Board application form, the signatures. There's the property record card from Lake County, a warranty deed of the property to show the ownership. And then there are some maps, and well, there's an aerial map, and everyone knows where the property is, but for
Have you all seen it?
for these purposes, we wanted to at least have the map in here, and then we can go through the photographs.
So they're no longer trying to use the foundation or anything in regards to reworking what it was? They're just trying to demolish everything now?
Yes, trying to demolish and get a fresh start.
Okay.
On the pictures, looking up at the top photograph, this is the south building, and it's looking west onto the property from Lee Street. And then the lower photograph there is the north building. The north building's in a lot is in terrible, terrible shape. Neither of them are in great shape.
Well, there used to be a building there that was the cafeteria.
There was the
sort of.
cafeteria there. It was not a structure that contributed to anything historic.
But yeah.
This next set of photographs is the rear of the building from Herndon Street. That's the south building. And then the photograph on the bottom of the frame is the north building, photograph from West Line Street. We included some pictures of the interior on, this is the last set that we have anything on. The picture on the top left is going into the building. I believe that's from the south entrance, if I remember correctly. And then the other three are what has happened with time and vandalism and broken in. So at this point, Madam Chair, staff is recommending that we move forward. Tough decision, but I think but from a staff standpoint, we spent a number of years and we've gotten nothing out of it. Therefore, we're making the recommendation to go ahead and demolish to allow for future opportunity for development that would benefit downtown. It is a tough decision on staff's part, but we support this decision and wanted to, if the city manager, Mr. Minner, wanted to make any comments, or if there's anything that we can answer to the level of knowledge that we have, we're happy to do so.
Yeah, the only thing, Mr. Rankin again's here for Mr. Mansfield, the applicant. I think that this issue obviously has been before you 3 or 4 times now over the course of the decade that I've served the city of Leesburg. But what's different with this request is it's just a flat-out request for demolition. The other approvals were quid pro quos. If the developer does this, then you can do that. But just at this phase, the community input that we've received, the commission input that we've received for demolition, the buildings are beyond repair. I think what you do is that if obviously we're recommending a no strings attached demolition order from you all, and what that will trigger is the developer coming back in and reworking the existing PUD. There's been some talk about apartment complexes. There's been talk about apartment or townhome type of things. But really at this stage, I think from the perspective of the historic board, y'all just need to look at this as this is a step to development, and development's going to have to be figured out in the future by the Planning and Zoning Board and the City Commission with whatever PUD comes before us. But to get that moving, the buildings need to be demolished. So we're asking essentially for a no strings attached demolition order.
Who's paying for the demolition?
Mr. Mansfield.
Okay.
He's the one that let it get this way. I mean, because nothing's been done all these, how long's it been? Years that he's owned it.
I think a lot of fingers are in that pot that led it this way. It's starting with the school board sale to another developer that didn't make good on his promises.
Yeah,
so I don't know if I would be as bold to say that it's Mr. Mansfield, but it's definitely this is
COVID was in there, and then
all sorts of things in there.
No developer had any money, and all this stuff was in there.
The Lee Adult Learning Center went out, I want to say, in the early 2000s, around 2005 or 6, but I don't remember the exact date. I was looking for that. But it has been unused in that amount of time. A good at least 15, getting probably close to 15, 18 years that it's sat and nothing's happened. And that's the difficulty from our standpoint, is it has gone for a long time and very few nibbles from investors, even when it was at a very low price from the school board itself. And the school board took on the effort of removing the asbestos.
That was the question I had. So there's no asbestos?
I couldn't guarantee it, but I do know that, yes, sir, that there was an abatement at the time of the sale, the original sale to the Orlando investor.
Well, as I told you all, I'm a Leesburg native, so
Yes, ma'am.
I went to my aunts. Two of my aunts graduated from high school there when it went all the way up through high school before the high school that we still use was there. They graduated from high school like in the early 20s. So, and anyway, I went through first grade through 6th grade there, and then when I came back to Florida in 1968, I taught 1 year of kindergarten there, and my daughter was there just for 1 year. But I want to see that. I wonder. There are going to be lots of bricks. What are they going to do with all the bricks? Do they have any plans for the bricks?
In the past, Mr. Mansfield's been amenable to doing what he can. I think if you want to have an order that saves the cornerstone and, preserve as much as possible within reason, I think that'd probably be acceptable. I certainly think that maybe the cornerstone is something you want to save, especially on the south building.
We want to do something to commemorate.
But I think that would be. I think that's a reasonable request.
And maybe a lot of people in Leesburg that are still here went to that school and might want a brick or two, So are they amenable to letting us come and get bricks?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. And then we talk about the commemoration of what it was later, I guess.
And I think that's memorialized in the existing PUD. And so I think your recommendation to instruct the commission and the Planning and Zoning Board to still continue to carry over some type of commemoration of the facility in the next PUD is important.
If I may, we have some wording that we could take from the last proposed PUD and bring it forward.
And the last PUD, I think, requires that he...
2 memorial plaques on the east side of the south building and the memorial marker on the southeast corner, and put that in the playground area. That's what we had.
Okay.
All right. And that's why I say, some type of memorial plaque and keeping the cornerstone needs to be part of the new development.
Well, this will come back to us when they get what they decide they're going to do with it.
No, ma'am. This is it. This is no strings attached demolition.
No, but I mean, once it's gone and you start planning what's going to be next.
Yes, it won't come back to the historic board. It will go. We believe that triggering the demolition makes the PUDs non-conforming because they have a demolition requirement in there. Therefore, if he has a no strings attached PUD, he's going to be required to come back and modify the PUDs. So when he modifies the PUDs, that's when we have the hook to say, put your commemoration in there.
So, Dan, you look like you have something else to say.
No, I'm just trying to remember the issues on the code. What the city manager is saying is that they would not need to come back to this
The historic
board,
body.
the historic board, because it's a PUD document.
That's what I'm saying.
And a PUD does not come to this board. However, the question that I can see in the minds of my staff is, do we have to bring the architecture for the new building back to the historic board?
I think we've got a double catch in here, okay? I think everybody is now of the opinion to let Mr. Mansfield demolish the buildings. But he can't demolish the buildings because there's a strings attached demolition requirement in the existing PUD. It states you can only knock down one building immediately,
right, and
you have to build a portion of the approved PUD. So he's got to build, I think the existing PUD is 62 units.
63.
63 units. So he can knock down the north building, but he has to build, I think, 8 apartment complex or 8 townhomes before he can knock down the north building. So the city attorney said he can't knock down anything no strings attached unless this board approves it. So if you all approve a no strings attached demolition, that's probably going to render our existing PUDs outdated, which then means Mr. Mansfield needs to come back in and bring a new plan of development on a virgin territory. So that gives him a date now with the Planning and Zoning Board and the City Commission. So he can't knock down the buildings and then turn it into a parking lot. Okay? He's going to have to come when he wants to develop the PUD, and you know that would probably be a good claw to stick in your no strings attached demolition, is that you require Mr. Mansfield to update his PUD. So if a motion is you agree to demolition of both buildings, save the cornerstones, make an attempt to preserve the materials you can, and update your existing PUDs as a condition of the demolition, that is something I think Mr. Mansfield would appreciate, because that would allow him to immediately demolish the buildings and force them to come back to the city to get a new PUD.
You have all that down, Dan?
I believe I do.
Is he still eager to expand in Leesburg?
Yes.
So it's not like it would sit vacant for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years again.
I'm not going to stand here before you and say you let him demolish it and it's going to come back in 3 years.
It is a big development, though. It's going to take time.
Right, but it's I'd rather see progress than just sitting like vacant.
I think the question that this board is grappling with is, unfortunately, a historic building that is blight in a prime area of development, and the key to getting development started is to get these buildings down. And then if you state that he needs to come back and update his PUDs in the demolition order, that forces him to go back to the Planning and Zoning Board and the City Commission to update his PUDs, which is the hook that won't allow him just to put up a parking lot.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate that they let it sit this long when it comes to this, but at this point, your hands are
Right.
tied. So what do you do?
It's too far
You know,
gone.
you're lucky to have somebody that wants to take it and do something with it, is the way I look at it.
Mike, maybe you could tell us something about a timeline?
Proposed, yeah. Wish.
I mean, what they think they'll do.
They gotta have a target.
He's from Land.
Sorry, it took me a while to get up there. My rugby knee is screaming. So, Mike Rankin, LPG. I'm the managing member and owner of LPG. A little bit of history about me that some of you may or may not know. 2014, this gentleman gave me the opportunity to come to Leesburg from Missouri, so that's what found me here. And one of my first projects was Lee School. Dan, you remember we worked on that for the ALF, so fond memories there. But today's task is really
What was your project for Lee School?
ALF.
It was the original zoning from when it was a school to
Yeah.
become the assisted living.
Okay.
Assisted living facility, I'm sorry. What we're really needing is the understanding that we can get these buildings down quickly. There's several reasons for that. One is that we really didn't talk about it, is the banks are more inclined to get involved with Mr. Mansfield with both buildings down rather than a two-step process. That's really what's driving this. But you've got 20 other houses around Lee School. You've got 6 on Herndon, you've got 4 on Perkins, you've got 10 on Line, which is one is multifamily. So you got 20. There's 20 reasons right there to see these buildings come down. It'll help their property values as well. And again, if we can get these buildings down, we'll get Mr. Mansfield across the finish line this time on this project. I live in this town. My name's going to be tied to this thing, and I'll drag him across the finish line if that's what it takes to get this thing done this time. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
Madam Chair, the motion would be that the motion would be to bring the buildings down, update the PUD, save the cornerstone and plaques for the playground or some area on the property so that there's a commemorative, and conserve materials such as bricks, which can be reused or given away.
Within reason.
As possible, wherever possible.
Yeah.
We'd have to put that wording in there. That would be the motion. And I can see the bricks, perhaps, we can talk about it later, but something to be fundraising for something, or people's names on them put somewhere,
Sell them $1 pieces.
something like that. There's possibilities there that we could discuss later.
But that wouldn't come to this board, that would go through the planning and zoning then, because once we make this decision, this board is out of all of those discussions.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, you've heard the motion.
Yeah, I second.
Well, I can't make the motion. Somebody else has to make it.
You're going to move the motion.
Yeah,
You're going to make
okay.
a motion to do
I moved
what
it.
he said.
Yeah, what he said.
Is there a second?
I second.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. Okay, we all voted.
Madam Chair, on behalf of Mr. Mansfield, thank you very much.
Well, we're telling him we're sorry he didn't come.
He's down in Texas for city commission training. He's a commissioner.
He's a commissioner in Ocala. So, I was going to say something about that. I forgot what I was going to say.
Our next regularly scheduled meeting is
End of March.
at the end of March, be the last Wednesday in March, as needed. Right now, we do not have anything. In the meantime, we will be looking for places to place the award for the renovation award, which goes out every month. We've used, was it 2 or 3 places on 9th Street? There was some nice work that went on 9th Street. And we'll be out and about in our daily duties and inspections and things, and so we're looking for those types of opportunities. There is one that we're thinking about on Line, is it Line? Yeah, it's down Line Street.
And if you have any suggestions?
And we're open to suggestions. If you see anything in the district, we'd love to hear from it. That's all the business that staff has, Madam Chairman.
The one on Line Street is near 12th Street there?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. I don't have anything in mind right now, but you all ride around Leesburg, because you don't live in Leesburg, what we, old Leesburg.
Right.
So ride around and look around at all the places, and there's no stipulation that it has to be in the historic district, is there? We usually do that.
I think that we could take it outside the historic district if it's a historic structure, if it's over 50 years old. I don't think that we would have an issue with the code on that. We will check that, and if it is, we'll get back with you. We'll send you an email.
Inside city limits, outside city limits.
Inside city
Inside
limits
city
only.
limits, okay.
But I will double check in Chapter 30, which is the historic preservation chapter, and make sure that we're following that. But I believe we could do it outside the district if it's a worthy restoration of a historic property. And to qualify as historic, it must be at least 50 years old as of the date. So what's that? We're in 2024, 1974, is it? So.
Well, my house is older than that, but I don't think it's very historic. There are probably some in Palmore Park. You know of any, Al?
Occasionally, there will be some nice things going on in Palmora. Recently, there's been a couple items on 9th Street that have been on the early part,
Palmora
just as you're getting into
side.
Palmora on the left. There's a house, I think it had burned down or something, or there was a fire, and they did a nice job there. But we do want to, if we can,
Where is
please.
that?
It's on 9th as you cross over Dixie, and then you go, before you get to the Palmora Park sign, there was a home on the left there that's fairly recent, and there's a very large oak tree either in that house or the next one in that yard. I forget the numbers, probably
Oh,
about
that's where the
600,
Forms live,
700 on 9th Street. We do want to try to restrict the renovation award to properties that are 50 years and older, if we can. And we might be able to do well in Palmore Park, because there are occasionally some houses in there that get redone that look they're really well done.
right? So you all look around. Anything else to come before us today? Okay, is there a motion to adjourn? Okay, we have a second?
I second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you all for being here.
Thank you.